Hi guys, so today we're going to go over the volume and surface area ECART. So go ahead and open up your first attempt so you can see which questions you got right and wrong while we go over this together, okay? All right, question one looked like this. Natalia wants to paint the entire surface. She needs to know how much paint to buy, so she must determine the surface area of the box. So surface area of a rectangular prism is after looking at the formula sheet. So you needed the formula sheet and you're going to follow this big long formula. So you're going to enter into Desmos 2 times 5 times 2 plus, and I'm just making this the length and this the width and this the height, plus 2 times 5 times 3 plus 2 times 2 times 3. So I'm just using this formula. So 2 times length times width is this part. And then there's a plus sign. And then there's 2 times width times height, which is this part. So that's how I use the formula. And then I just plug in the numbers that are in the problem. And then I use Desmos to do the work. All right, so plug that into Desmos, see what you get. All right, guys, should have gotten 62 square feet. All right, question number 2. Find the approximate surface area of a cylinder with a height of 3 and a base with a 4-inch radius. So the surface area, so looking on your formula sheet, the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And then you're going to plug in the numbers. So I got a 2 times, and then pi, which is 3.14, times the radius. So this is the radius because it's halfway across the circle. And then this is the height. So the radius is 4. And then there's a little 2, which means I got to square the 4. Then there's a plus sign. Then there's a 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 4, times the height of the cylinder, which is 3. Okay, so I used the formula, each part, and plugged in the numbers. Go ahead and put that thing into Desmos and see what you get. All right, guys, did you get 175.84? If you did not, then some of the common mistakes on this one, I feel like, were not squaring the 4. So you have to do 4, and then remember on Desmos, the little key that has a to the second power, that's what you're going to push to square a number. Or you could have just done 4 times 4, and that squares a number too. All right, so double check Desmos, make sure you're putting those in the right way. Okay, now we are finding the volume of a prism. So if I look up the volume of a prism, why isn't this working? Okay. Why? All right, guys, so if you look at the formula sheet, the volume for a prism is length times width times height. So you're going to put in 14, 16, and 4, and it really doesn't matter which order you did, but you're going to multiply those 3 on your calculator, and then check back here, see what Desmos gives you. All right, guys, you should have gotten 896 cubic inches for this one. All right. Number 5. Cylinder-shaped barrel has a diameter of 3 feet. So they're giving us all the way across, which means we're going to need to divide that by 2 to get the radius, right? This is the cylinder. They're telling us it's a diameter of 3 and a height of 4.5. And what's the closest to the minimum amount of water needed to fill? Whenever it's filling something, we're finding volume. So the volume formula for a cylinder is pi times the radius squared times the height of the cylinder on your formula sheet. So I'm going to use 3.14 for pi, but remember, radius wasn't given to us. They gave us the diameter. So on your calculator, you had to do 3 divided by 2 to get 1.5. And that's what the radius is. So I'm going to do times 1.5 squared on my Desmos calculator times the height, which is 4.5. All right, so put that into Desmos and see what you get. All right, guys, did you get 31.79, which is pretty close to about 32 cubic feet? All right, number 5. Each student in 7th period received the same amount of construction paper to build a 3D figure. And we want to know the largest volume. So you have to find volume of all 4 shapes. So for the prisms, it's length times width times height. So I'm going to be doing 6 times 2 times 10. So that's 120 on Desmos. This one is 7 times 8 times 3, which is 168 in Desmos. And then this formula is pi times the radius squared times the height. So 3.14 times the radius, which is 6, squared times the height, which is 5. 565. Is that right? 3.14 times 6 squared, and then times 5. 565. Okay, this volume would be 3.14 times 7 squared times 3. The 7 is the radius, the 3 is the height, right? So this one I got 461. So it looks like Lamar's has the highest volume. All right, question 6. Rectangular prism, and what's the minimum amount of plastic needed to cover, which means I'm finding surface area. So on your formula sheet, you're doing this formula, 2 times length times width, plus 2 times width times height, plus 2 times length times height. All right, and then second row is plugging in these 3 numbers. That's still not working. Okay. So into Desmos, you're going to put 2 times 18 times 18 plus 2 times 18 times 24 plus 2 times 18 times 24. So I did 18 times 18, 18 times 24, 18 times 24. All right. Go ahead and put that in Desmos and see what you get. All right, guys, should have gotten 2,376 square inches. All right, number 7, 2 more. Number 7. Surface area of a coffee can. A coffee can is a cylinder, and the height is 7 and the radius is 5. So surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. So in Desmos, I'm going to put 2 times 3.14, follow the formula, times the radius squared, which is 5 squared, plus 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 5, times the height, which is 7. Go ahead and put that in Desmos and see what you get. All right, guys, did you get 376.8 square inches? And that's going to be C. All right, last question. We are finding the greatest volume of these 4 prisms. So Volume is length times width times height of a rectangular prism. So for this one, guys, you just had to multiply 8 times 4 times 5 and see what that equals. And then 6 times 7 times 12. So you're just multiplying the length, the width, the height times the height and seeing which one is the biggest. So go ahead and do that in Desmos and see what you get. All right, guys, so I got 160, 504, 480, and 130. So Prism R has the greatest volume with 504. All right, guys, I hope that helped. You got to use the formula sheet. You got to plug in the numbers into Desmos and make sure you're plugging them in correctly. Let me know if you have any questions before you do the retake.